Hey guys, this is my first hair tutorial. I wear my hair in braids all the time and everybody always asks how I do it, so I thought today I would actually put up a tutorial and see if I got any positive feedback. So let me know if you like it, if it was helpful. If it wasn't, why not? So hopefully my next one will be a little bit better for you guys. So to get started, this is day after hair. I took a shower last night, I let it air dry, and kind of wallered it in bed. So today it looks like a hot mess. So this is a braid that I would do in an instance where I'm running late in the morning and I don't have time to straighten it or curl it, or maybe I took a shower that morning and I don't have time to fully dry it. This braid is really easy to do with wet hair, as most braids are. So to get started, you have to have a couple of prerequisites. You have to be able to French braid, and it can be a standard style French braid from the top to the back, French braid from the side over, however you can do it. That's all you have to know to do this braid. Also, you have to be able to tease your hair a little bit, or get some natural volume. If you've got that, then you actually don't have to do anything for this. My hair is a little bit thicker hair, so I'm just going to back brush a couple of times. If you have thinner hair, you might want to invest in some teasing product. The one I use is Big Sexy Hair's Powder Play. I've tried several different types of teasing products, and this one has been the best one. I don't like to wash my hair every day, and the next day I'm able to brush this out and wear my hair as second day hair. So it's just got a little bit of a baby powder top. Just sprinkle it in and then do a little bit of back brush. But like I mentioned, my hair is a little bit thicker, so you don't need a whole lot of volume for this braid. You just need some. So I'm actually not going to use that. So I'm just going to grab a little bit of my back hair, and it's just going to depend on how your hair falls. I've got a cowlick, so that's why I have bangs on my left side. If you don't have that problem, you can do this from a left or a right start. And you always want to tease the back and then the side that the braid will be ending on. So I'll show you a little bit here. Just do 2 layers in the back. It should look something like this. Nothing crazy, just a little bit of volume. And then I want to tease a little bit on this side as well. So just going to grab this. And you never want to tease your bangs, of course, at least not until the end. And then one more spot right here. Okay, so it should just have a little bit of grab to it. When you grab your hair, it should have a little bit of poof at the back. Once you've got that done, you're just going to pull your hair to the side and start on the right side for me. So the first section that you're going to want to section off is going to be like right behind your ear. It should be about a good enough amount that it's not a struggle for you to get that braid started, but you want to try to use as little as possible. So you're going to section it off in 3 starts. And before we get started here, I have shorter bangs here on this side, as you can see, so I have to use a bobby pin at the end just to make sure that this stays tight enough that it's going to last all day long. So if you need to do that as well, then I will show you that when we finish up. So to get started, and if your hair is a little bit frizzy, sometimes it's a little tough for you to get this to look very neat. So what I always take is some sort of like conditioner, leave-in conditioner or something along those lines, and just give it a couple of sprays right here at the start just to get it a little bit wetter. That way it's going to stay a little bit tighter right up at the top of your head. So people with curly hair, or if you're like me and you've got these boy hairs right here around your ears, that trick right there is going to help you. And since it's a leave-in conditioner, it doesn't make your hair hard or anything like a hairspray would, so it's just a little bit nicer than just using plain old water. So the first thing you want to do is you want to start your French braid, and I actually do French braid twice, well actually a standard braid twice before I get started. So what I mean by that is I'm going to take top to bottom, and then I'm going to take, well I guess now I got talking and I confused myself, so let's start over. So you're going to take top to middle, you're going to pull the bottom around, then you're going to take the top to the middle, you're going to pull the bottom around again. once you finally got a braid started like this, that's when you're going to start adding hair. The reason I do that is because I do have to use so much hair to get started. It at least lets my braid start a little bit closer to my scalp and then work its way back. Otherwise, your braid looks like it's starting back a little bit further on your head. So the trick to this braid is making sure that you're keeping your braid really high. If you let your hands fall and it starts drooping around the back of your neck, it's not going to get the same kind of effect at the end. So now we're ready to add hair in. So the first thing that you want to do is you want to pull your hair in the back and grab just a little bit on the top. And then the trick to the volume in this is once you pull it in, you're actually going to pull it up a little bit and give it a little bit of a poof, just like that. So then in the back, see this very well? You're going to pull your middle, and I actually always drop the bottom strand of hair just because it's really easy to pick back up again, and it lets my fingers not get as tangled whenever I'm trying to braid this behind my head. So I drop the bottom, and I'm actually going to pull. Actually, I'm going to hold that until I can pull hair up. So I pull hair up, and when you're pulling hair from the bottom, you may run out of hair, so I always try to use smaller sections, except for this very first time. I always take a little bit larger section, just so it lasts the whole time I'm in the back of my head. Now what you want to make sure that you're doing is you're not pulling hair from the side. You always want to let your hair kind of flow naturally, so I always tilt my head back a little bit, and I just grab whatever is easy. Now since you've back brushed a little bit, it's going to be a little bit tangled. So just make sure that you're kind of keeping the bumps out, and then don't forget to pull it up a little bit to give it that volume. So I pull the bottom over, I drop what is now the new bottom, and I pull in my bottom side of the hair. You see this very well? And then pulling it over from the top. Same thing. Just going to grab whatever naturally flows. Don't forget to give it a little volume. Dropping the bottom, pulling from the bottom up to the middle. Then I can pick up the bottom really easily again. Pulling from the top. Now when you get to this part of your head, so this is where you've mostly used all of the back section of your hair, you want to make sure that you're not pulling too far forward. So for this braid, for instance, I would want to grab a section like right here. If you start grabbing too far forward, the braid kind of starts to look like this, and that's not the purpose of this braid. You really want it to end right here. So I grab that. I'm going to pull it over one more time. Now when you're grabbing from the bottom here, you may have to kind of grab in towards your ear a little bit. That's perfectly fine, and actually I encourage that. When we end this braid, I always end on the bottom pull, so it's kind of pulling it around and twisting it in a little bit more. Otherwise, it's a little bit of a looser end. Now, you'll notice that I kind of stopped pulling out the poof when I got over here to the left side of my head where I'm going to be finishing it. You can do whatever's best for you, but the reason I do that is because you can always pull it once you're finished with the braid, and you want less volume versus more volume when you're finishing the braid just because you can't go backwards. So I'm finishing this up here. This is like the last two, and you should be finishing right around your ear. So what I'm going to do is, like I mentioned, I always want to end on the bottom. So I'm going to pull the top, and that leaves kind of like this bottom awkward random section of my hair, and that's going to be for the last one. So what I do is I grab it around, and here's what I'm talking about. You kind of twist it into the braid because it comes from the bottom, and that just makes it a little bit tighter around your left ear. So once you get here, you're just going to braid it down like a regular braid. And you want to try to make sure that these sections when you're ending your braid are as even as possible so you can make this braid down as long as possible. The reason is because there's a couple different variations of this I'm going to show you. One of the variations, you do have to have several of the braids on the end. For those who have shorter hair or maybe layers in their hair, you want to make sure you can have at least 4 braids down. If you can't have 4 braids down, then some of these variations you won't be able to do, and I'll make sure to let you know which ones those are. So don't worry if you've got a couple of pieces that are sticking out. It's not really all that important for it. It can be messy. You just want to try to get it down as far as you can. I just take a rubber band and I tie it in. And if you're like me and you've got really long hair and it's kind of got these straggly little ends, what you're going to do is you're just going to, instead of finishing the braid and letting this set, you actually just tuck them back up in it, just like that. So it's a little bit more hidden. So I've dropped a little piece right here, and you always want to make sure you try to get all of your hair. Sometimes you will forget a piece. You don't have to start over, which is why I love this braid. You can do it when you're in a hurry. You don't have to make it perfect, and even though you know it's imperfect, every time I wear this braid, I have people stop me and tell me how they love my hair. Plus, it's an easy braid to put hair accessories in as well. So once you are done down to this part, look, the back is going to look something like this. And it's not going to have a lot of volume in it, but this is where you're going to put the volume in it. So I actually can't see this. So let me, okay. So you're just going to grab the top parts of the braid and you're just going to pull them a little bit. And it looks something like this. So the first thing that you do to this braid is you make sure the left side or whatever side you're finishing on looks the way you want it to look, and you pin it immediately. So I'm actually going to pull this back a little bit so it looks something like that, and then I push it up to give me some more volume, and I'm going to pin this right away. If you mess around with it, it's going to get loose and sloppy, and you're going to have to pretty much start the whole bottom part of the braid over. So you push it up, you're going to pin a little bit into the braid, you do a little twist with the bottom of your hair, and then you always pin it to the side. Never, ever, ever pin straight up or straight down if you can avoid it. And the reason is the pins will stab you in the brain a million times throughout the day, and you will hate this hairstyle. So the first thing that you want to do once you've got that pinned is you want to make sure you're kind of flattening your braid out behind it. Now this braid is the braid that I do probably most often, just because I get the most compliments on it, and it's the easier of the braids, so why not if it's easy? Plus, you want to make sure that when you're putting a pin in, you always put it in with the grip to the bottom. So I sometimes will start it with the top, but because I kind of twist in and around, this always wants to be towards your head. So this, I'm going to put another one in, twist it around, and then back to your head. So it looks something like this. And then you've got this random little end. Now this is going to depend on how long your hair is, on where that ends. The great part about this is you actually just tuck this up in wherever's convenient in your braid. So you can actually do that before you do the second pin. Or for me, I actually like to push it back and then do something like this, and then I just pin the end of it. Actually, I'm going to stick this in. You just kind of grab anywhere that's open in your hair and you just kind of start shoving it in. And then you just kind of pin it closed. So it should look something like that. So once you get to this part, the back of your hair is pretty much done. But the front of my hair is not, because I've got these terrible little bangs. This always looks really poofy. So I always just take a pin and I pull up as much of those boy hairs as I can. And I pin that back just to make that a little bit tighter. So once you've got to this point, It's just a matter of how you want to style your bangs. I've done everything from curling them back so it kind of flows into the braid a little bit. That's a little bit more of the dressier style. I'll do that if I'm going to work. But like today, I'm just headed to the meat market actually, so I'm just going to leave them down and a little bit messier. Makes it look like I put less effort into the braid. And as you notice, the little hair that I had is now pinned up. I just made sure that whenever I took that first pin and I put it in, I kind of twisted the hair around it a little bit just to make sure it was up. But I still have these boy hairs that are in the back. So all you're going to do is you're going to take one braid or one grab at all of them and then one pin, and you're just going to kind of pin them here to the side. Nobody will ever know. So last thing that you want to do is just make sure this is tight. It feels like it's not droopy at all. See, this has got a little bit of move in it. So I'm actually going to take a bobby pin right here in the middle. I've got a little bit of a hole between the two braids. I'm just going to stick a pin in, and I'm going to do the same thing where I kind of push the top part of it up, twist my bobby pin around a little bit, and then I twist it in. So that holds that up a little bit tighter, and then this feels a little bit loose, so I'm actually going to use, that's why this one's not being used anymore. I hate bobby pins that do that. They're worthless. Throw them away. Get a new one. And I actually just use this giant box of Supreme bobby pins that I got at the beauty supply store. I think it comes with like, I don't know, 10,000 in here it feels like. There's a lot. So this lasts me forever. Bobby pins are everywhere in my house. My boyfriend complains about them constantly. So we're going to stick this back in, and you always want to make sure you're pushing up for the volume. That's in. So this feels really tight, which is what you want it to feel like. I don't feel any hairs on the back of my neck any longer. So I'm going to take my favorite hairspray, which is Treseme's 24-hour body hairspray. It's perfect for the bangs. I would usually hose my bangs down in this, and that's what's going to hold them all day long. But because I'm not doing much with my bangs, I'm actually going to use this, which is Garnier Fructis style. I don't know. It smells delicious. I don't much care about hairspray as long as it holds my hair and it smells good. And it's cheap and I can find a coupon for it. I'm all about it. So give it a hose, and you want to make sure that the top of your hair doesn't look crazy with any of these weird bumps, which I didn't notice before. And you can hide them by just pulling up on some of your hair. But this is when I said you want less volume versus more volume, because you get those weird little pieces and then you're kind of pulling the rest of your hair to try to match it. So that doesn't look too terribly bad. Nobody's probably going to notice except for me. And I'm in a little bit of a hurry today. So I will just spray it down. All right. That's it, guys. Now I'll show other variations of this braid. When you're finishing them up, the different variations really just depend on how you end the braid. The beginning of the braid is all the same, and you can actually make it look like several different types of braids. So I hope what I've done has helped. I've actually found that little piece of hair again. So if this actually happens, what you can do is just wrap it around your finger. Maybe. And then once you've wrapped it around your finger, you just want to take your finger out of it. If I can get my finger out of it. Jeez. And you want to, dear God. There we go. Pin it up so it stays. What I was saying about wrapping it around your finger, if it's a large enough piece of hair, you can wrap it around your finger, stick a bobby pin in, and then just kind of tuck it up in like this. So there we go. Now you'll never know. It wasn't perfect, but it looks cute. And I can guarantee when you wear your hair like this the first time, your girlfriends are going to ask you how in the Lord's name you ever did that. and now you can send them to my blog. So let me know. Please leave some comments if it was helpful, if it wasn't, and some other things that you would like to see, and I'll be happy to get them up later. Talk to you guys later. Thanks.